Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 63 with Jake Ducey and Ashley Hall. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were when they share their top 6 tips on how to live and work together. I will definitely be taking some of these on board. I also love how they talk about financial freedom being the key to a successful relationship and how they keep their relationship exciting and fresh. But there is so much more wisdom and inspiration you get in the full episode. So, to listen to the full podcast and to get all the info in the show notes, head to melissaambrosini.com/63 right now. Welcome, guys. I am so excited to have you on the show. Can you take us back to how you guys met? Where did the story of Jake and Ash all begin?
I was living in Utah at the time. I grew up about 8 or 9 years in Utah. Originally a California girl. So I was living in Utah at the time, and we actually met in Santa Barbara. Jake's literary agent.
Who's Melissa's as well.
Who's yours as well. It was I believe it was his 60th
birthday.
Oh, 65th birthday party. So, it was really funny. I was planning a visit to go see my dad for that weekend. And about a week before I was supposed to leave, my dad calls me and he says, "Hey Ash, I know you're coming to visit me this weekend, and I'm super excited. I wanted to kind of prepare you a little bit or ask you if you'd attend this party with me. There's this young guy. He's really good looking. He's really
he is.
Yeah, he's really awesome, and I really want you to join me, and I really want you to meet him." Which kind of was my initiation into the experience of Jake. And you're on your end. I know that.
Oh, I'll tell a story from Bill Gladstone's angle. Our mutual agent calls me the night before. It was his 70th birthday, not his 65th. And he says, "Hey, Jake, tomorrow I turn 70, and one of my clients has a really, really pretty daughter, and I really want you to meet her. So do you want to come to Santa Barbara?" And it's 5.5 hours away. And I'm like, and he's like, "Come on." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll go." And I take the 5.5 hour drive or whatever. And I'm sitting on the couch by myself. And it's all these people I don't know in some guy's house I don't know. And I'm sitting on the couch right next to the front doors on the left. And as soon as Ashley walks in with her dad, and we're 6 inches apart from each other. And I'm like, "Hi." And she's like, "Hi."
Yeah,
and then we
good.
just kind of said hi, and then we walked away, and then we ended up meeting that night. And then I forgot my wallet, so I didn't have any money for gas. I drove all the way to Santa Barbara without my wallet. So then her dad gave me money, and then we kindled this relationship.
How do you both make sure that you are doing the work and overflowing with love within yourself and not coming from that place of lack and need?
We designate a lot of our conversations towards things that uplift us and things that promote our health and well-being as a couple. So a lot of that is centered and on an individual basis, but also because we are around each other so frequently that being able to express ourselves in a way that promotes our own personal health just promotes our relationship as well. So a lot of our time we, dedicate towards just talking about what we're grateful for. I know that's a huge center of your relationship with your husband, and that's something you had shared with me a few years ago, and Jake and I share that as well.
Let's get practical, because you guys live together and you work under the same roof. How do you make that work? I want your best top 5 tips on how you live and work under the same roof.
Okay, number 1, soundproof headphones.
Yes.
We both have soundproof. I'm being serious.
Those are fantastic.
I think it's important. And
we've got them too.
Yeah, I think it's
totally
super important. Number 2, we both leave at certain times to give the other person space of the house by themselves, and vice versa, give the other person space to leave by themselves. Ashley left today for half the day. So I think I'd say number 2 would be that. What would you say number 3 is?
Just the communication factor that Melissa just touched on. We've also shared a car for the majority of our actually our whole entire relationship. So it's the same thing with sharing a car as well. Just having communication with each other around what it is that our needs are as an individual in that moment. Jake usually really enjoys space when he gets in his zone, when he's filming, when he's dropping in. And I know that, so I, step away. So I think it's the understanding of knowing when to be each other and how we kind of function and how we work. What's number 4?
Exercise.
Exercise for us has been a really big integral part of keeping a healthy relationship.
We go together, but we do our own thing when we're there. Sometimes we're in like an argument, and then we'll just go to and we'll just be like, let's just figure it out later. And we'll like go to the gym, and then like after we are like sweating and like our endorphins are running, the other one of us will walk up to the other one and just be like, hi, sorry.
Yeah.
And then, like,
love you. Love you. See you later.
And I think that, and I mean, and that leads into what you could argue is number 5, which could also be number 1.
Taking care of our individual health.
I was going to say sex.
Oh.
But
okay.
It's hard to have good sex if you're not in good shape, especially if you're not moving your body because you're not really in a vital state. And so...
Well, maybe in an open state, a very open state. So I think all of those things help contribute to us being able to live, work, function under the same roof.
If there was one thing that challenges you most in your relationship, what is it and how do you work through it?
The most challenging part for me, which Ashley and I have talked about, is sometimes, and a lot of it is probably a story in my head, I'm afraid to sometimes say things because I don't want to hurt her feelings. And in the story in my head is that I think she takes things too personal or she's too sensitive, which then can sometimes lead to a disagreement or a unclear communication. And it's this ironic thing where it's like, I want to love her so much, which leads me to not be clear, which then causes friction from the unclarity of what both of us want in that moment.
There some past experiences that I had in my life that really imprinted upon me from a young age. My parents, they had a really extreme case divorce for about 12 or 13 years. Like the fear of being left, or, that would probably be the main one.
Yeah,
I would say, would you say there's another one that's probably the main one. And that's taken a lot of effort on my part.
Do you know what? I have heard many, many women express that same fear of abandonment to me many, many times. Friends.
Do you think that's the most common fear that women have in relationships?
Yeah. And do you know what it is? It is lineage stuff. It is like, it stems back generations and generations. So your mums, like it's not actually entirely just yours. Like you're tapping into this DNA, this lineage fear of abandonment that has happened through the generations, but then also collective consciousness.
Right.
So it may feel a lot bigger than it actually is. Like sometimes, if a fear like that comes up for me, I can tap into it and I'm like, this actually isn't even mine. Like this actually isn't even my fear. Like I have resolved this within myself. Maybe I'm tapping into collective consciousness or something like that. So you are not alone that you have that fear. And I just want you to know that it is so, so, so common. I hear it a lot, but it might not even be yours. And it's time to open wide and let it go, because if we hold on to it, it will block the magic that you get to experience with your love right now.
Definitely. And there's been so many times that I've blocked the magic with those types of fears. What you said about it not being your story, it's not even your thought, but from, previous lifetimes and the collective, it's so true, because so many of us, we get in these amazing relationships and all of these kind of past traumas come up. And instead of recognizing them as non-existent in the relationship, we project them into the relationship instead.
How do you guys keep your love and your relationship exciting and fresh? You spend a lot of time together like Nick and I do. What do you guys do? I want to know the tips and the tricks on how you keep it exciting and fresh.
I really think being silly and being just super funny is so important to just like laughing. Like laughing is such an instant connection to joy, and you feel so much just love there. So I think for us, like being super, super silly, and that's progressed throughout our relationship. Now we've been together for so long that we're really, really open and free with who we are. So we're just super silly. And I would say that's my answer, is just being really silly and just expressing to one another how much we appreciate and love each other. And that's very a part of our conversation. I would say I'm slightly obsessed with you. And I think that's like, that's good. It's good. There could be a healthy, I might have crossed the unhealthy boundary, but I like to tell him all the time.
And I would say what keeps our relationship fresh, Ashley and I have had quite a lot of adventures.
How important is sex and intimacy, soulful sex, as I like to call it, and intimacy in your relationship?
I wouldn't say it's everything, because obviously there's so much in a relationship on an intimate level outside of the physical expression of sex. But it's definitely, I think it's healthy. We practice it all the time. It's good practice to maintain.
One time I heard Gabby Reese, she's married to Laird Hamilton, who's like the most famous big wave surfer who ever lived. But her non-negotiable rule is that they have to have sex every single day. And Ashley and I have an unwritten rule that basically when one person is feeling it, it's kind of non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Because I think otherwise it can breed resentment or friction.
What do you think is the number one key to a happy, successful relationship?
I think there's multiple avenues that I could think of 5 different answers to come up with for that, answering that. But I think one of the main and very important would be having financial prosperity in your life. And I can see how much it's relayed into our relationship with just feeling like that pressure, that stress isn't quite there. I don't know if you want to addition anything onto that, but I think that it's very important to having.
Money is a team building activity too.
Yeah. So I don't know where I'm trying to go with that, but
in how I would interpret what she said is it's been a team building activity for us.
Yeah.
And she's right. We've been super freaking broke, like so broke. She was in debt to help with our everyday groceries.
Yeah.
And we've been the opposite of that. And so I think that the goal around that, it creates a lot of things. Somebody will say, oh, that's materialistic and that's not what makes you happy. But it creates a lot of the tools that we've discussed throughout this, which is crystal clear communication, right? When you're struggling financially, you have to have crystal clear communication. Then there's crystal clear communication on the goals and the visions moving forward. It's given us opportunity to have a lot of fun adventures. And so that's the way that I would categorize what she said. I mean, I actually have a hypnotist that I work with, but I also have a hypnosis recording that about 75,000 people have downloaded now this year that I use too. But I mean, the whole thing is you have to get your brainwaves into more like a theta state where the conscious mind is more relaxed. But I think that's probably been I think that's one of the most powerful things. And it means a lot of things. It doesn't mean necessarily a 20-minute time where you hypnotize yourself, but I think it's also looking at and accepting and rejecting ideas that you don't want part of your belief system, right? Because we're brainwashed in every area of our life, and mostly it's brainwashed by sources outside of ourselves. If we're talking about money particularly, I would say actually decide that you're going to be rich. And if you actually think about it, that when I was broke, I had never decided that I was going to be wealthy. And if you look at it, most people have never actually decided. And what is decide? The word decide is a Latin word for killing off any other alternative. And so I think literally making a decision. And what does that look like? If you make a decision to eat dinner, what does that mean? You actually pull the pan out and you pull the food out and you cook yourself dinner. Well, what does the decision to be wealthy look like? I mean, that might look like deciding, your new goal for 2018 is to read one money book a week. If you're committed, if you've made the decision to become wealthy and to become independently wealthy in your life, reading one book a week around money should be no problem. Guys have to stop saying this. I mean, they're either hot or they're cool, but like it's really hard to find women that are hot and cool. And then women say this, there's no good guys out there. I mean, they're either like really like jerks or they're like cool, but they're nerds. There's no good guys. So guys have to stop saying there's no good, the women aren't cool and hot. And women have to stop saying there's no good guys. Or if you have a different sexual preference than that, whatever your sexual preference is most people often say, and it's out of defeat. It's out of looking at the current circumstances of our life and deciding that means that's the ultimate fate of the entire world is based off of the limited amount of visible light that you can perceive with your very small eyes.
So letting go of your limiting belief systems shorthandedly?
Stop saying that.